Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's call. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Coach D with Get Fit Fly Right. I met Coach D at a U.S. Youth Soccer Symposium where she led a powerful breathwork exercise that left a lasting impression on me. We were actually just talking about this before we started the call. Despite being in a busy and distracting environment, meaning we were next to an elevator with tables all around us, people walking through what Coach D was doing. And given all of that, she still created a sense of calm and focus and helped us prioritize our mental health and well being. And it started with a simple question: did you brush your teeth today? And this led to a thought provoking discussion about our daily habits and how we tend to prioritize other aspects of life over our mental health. And so Coach D then asked us to consider our breath work routine and how often we take care of our mental health. This was an eye-opening experience for me. And I knew in that moment that I wanted Coach D to share her expertise with our coaches here in North Carolina. Get Fit Fly Right's mission is to build competence and confidence in youth and those who lead them, and by changing the way we approach mental health in sports and youth development. Today, Coach D will share her insights and strategies for creating a positive and supportive culture and practical tips for implementing mental hygiene into your environment. I'm confident you'll find her presentation informative, engaging, and inspiring. That's the way I felt when I left Coach D's presentation for the first time. And with that, I'd like to welcome Coach D with Get Fit Fly Right. Coach D, take it away.
All right. Great morning, afternoon, wherever you are, everyone. Thank you, Jamie, so much just for the opportunity to continue to share the power of mindfulness. So, as Jamie said, I am Coach D. Williams. I'm from New York City, and I am the creator of the 533 breathing meditation and Get Fit Fly Right as acting CEO. So, I want to get right into it, and I'm going to share my screen. Oh, we're already at the end. And so, as Jamie said, I am the creator of this method. And so, just to give you guys a little bit of background on my experience, I've been working within youth development for over 17 years, and I began coaching youth athletics in 2007. But since 2019, I noticed that there was a real issue, and this was actually before the pandemic, with our youth and their inability to, one, seek help, to really be able to self-regulate. And I also noticed it in a lot of the coaches that I was working with. And so in 2019, I rebranded Get Fit Fly Right, and we were able to impact across three key areas. The first one being community and coach training, the second, mental health and wellness initiatives, and the third, diverse partnerships and services. And the third one is really huge because I was known for being a basketball coach. And so I wanted my brand to kind of stick out on its own from the work that I had done personally. And so with that, we created the Athlete Project, also known as TAP, which is a mental hygiene curriculum for youth mental well-being. Currently, we have our TAP Talks course, which is featured on Head in the Game, an online learning community. And we've collaborated with over 50 plus sport-based youth development organizations and schools throughout NYC. So we've collaborated with, and I was just saying this to Jamie, soccer, American football, basketball, and even hockey to really support not just our youth, but also those who lead them. And so our programs aim to engage, equip, and educate youth leaders, providing proven and effective solutions for youth mental well-being. So with that being said, what is the TAP method? And so I will always open with who brushed their teeth this morning. And so if you can put your answers in the chat. If you brushed your teeth, you can just simply put a 1 in the chat if you did brush your teeth this morning. And if not, you can put a 2. So I'll give you guys a second to do that while I look in the chat. So yes, we have some ones. We have some ones. Now, yes, and mouthwash. So see, you already ahead of the game, JP. So the second question I have is, did you gargle? Right? Did you? Yes. How about floss? Did anyone floss today? I actually forgot. And most importantly, something I am very, very big on, who scraped their tongue? I knew I was going to be talking today, so I wanted to make sure that I made sure to scrape my tongue. All right, so I'm seeing some more yeses, some more ones in the chat. And so with that, who did that for their brain? You can go ahead and put another one in the chat if you did that for your brain. All right. And so for those that put a one that they did that for their brain, what did you do this morning to clean your mind? You can share right in the chat. What did you do this morning to clean your mind? Guided meditation, meditation. Okay, as you guys continue to write in the chat. So what I did this morning actually was I just breathed. Like I actually didn't go through the entire breathing meditation. I was like, you know what? Let me just take a moment and just breathe. And so that essentially is what the TAP method is. It's a four-step method where we apply stillness and we affirm. That allows us to be more aware of where we are, what it is that we're needing, and be able to kind of refocus just on ourselves in that moment. We follow up with the third step, which is breathing with 533 meditation. That meditation allows us to develop a practice, right? A practice for cleaning our minds, really essentially checking our energy. Where are we? Almost like a thermometer, right? Or are we boiling hot? Are we cold as ice? Or are we right, in the middle? And then last but most certainly not least is making a commitment to what our day is going to be, who we are going to be in that day, and this practice being normalized, just as we brush our teeth, right? We know that if we do not brush our teeth, who we get to be in the world is limited. And so the same can be said for our mind, right? When we do not check in with ourselves, our ability and our capacity is what's affected the most. And so with that, right, the TAP method is a comprehensive curriculum for developing mental hygiene regimens. It consists of the 533 breathing meditation and mindfulness training resources like the Just Breathe mindfulness training coloring activity book, which we're going to get into later. As I said earlier, this method is founded on the 533 breathing meditation, which doesn't mean you have to do it, but it's highly recommended as this technique essentially helps individuals regain mental energy and focus. It's a 4-minute meditation, which involves 3 specific cadences of breath. And so 5 deep breaths, which again allows us to center, get aware of who we are, what we are, and who we want to be. And then it allows us to activate our core. And last but most certainly not least, my favorite breath, which is the loud breath, it allows us to release tension. Just a side note, I actually created this breathing meditation because when I started going to yoga classes, I didn't like them. As an athlete, particularly a basketball coach, Jamie and I were talking earlier about how the gym is so loud. And I actually love that sound of the balls bouncing and the kids running around and the referees blowing the whistle and the crowd heckling. But for some, particularly our youth, that can be quite overwhelming. And so the loud breath allows us to release that tension wherever we are. So again, we are building our capacity to receive information and to perform at our best. So what is the vision? And so for me, the vision has always been the same. I want to create a culture of wellness, something that is repeatable, easy, flexible, because as a coach, I know we have a million things on our mind. If you're an administrator, an executive director, an athletic director, there's so many things that we need to do. And in order to do that, we also need the help of our youth. And I'm a big advocate for youth voice and youth empowerment. And what that looks like is creating a practice that closes the gap between the hierarchies and the authority that we believe we have over our children. And so the mission for Get Fit Fly Right is to change the approach in mental health and youth development by providing organizations like yourself with proven support through mental and mindfulness practice, right? We want to combat the social emotional issues facing not only participants, but also program leaders. And we believe with effective coach training and emotional intelligence that this will result in a developed culture of wellness within youth sports programming. And so we get to the good part, right? I'm a little controversial. I am a rougher featherer. So I want to know in the chat how many of you have used SEL in your current programming. So again, we're going to go with the 1-2 system. If you have used some form of social emotional learning within your programs, drop a 1 in the chat. If you have not, drop a 2. Okay, so we have some ones. We have some people that have used it. Now I'm going to actually be boldly honest. It's okay. I won't take offense. Drop a 1 in the chat if those SEL programs have worked. Drop a 2 if they have not worked. So yes is signaling 1, no signaling 2. And be completely honest. Got some 2s, okay. And so, yeah, I have visited plenty of programs, community, school, as well as sport, and a lot of them don't work. And the truth is, right, many of these SEL programs, they lack cultural competence, right? And really being able to address student-specific needs. A lot of what I've learned is that theory doesn't always mirror practice. And so when we think about these traditional SEL programs, there's a lot of context. Unfortunately, context doesn't always adequately address the realities of student athletes of all ages, right? And so the second reason that I found SEL doesn't work is inadequate coach training. Coaches are just at a loss, right? Let's be honest, our children nowadays have a language that we just did not grow up with. And also oftentimes our children are using this language in ways that aren't always healthy, right? And so, a quick story, I remember doing a breathing session at a sip and paint. One of the schools had hired someone to come in to bring the parents and the children together. And I came in to kind of introduce the theme and do some mindfulness before everyone got to paint and kind of mingle. And one of the students was like, Miss, I got anxiety. And the parent was so ashamed and they didn't know how to intervene in that moment. And so our children are being met with these terms that we just weren't allowed to even say. I remember high school, ninth grade in 2000, and my coach telling me to leave my emotions at the door. Now, not only are our youth bringing their emotions, but they're now showing us how to talk about them in ways that, quite frankly, make us uncomfortable. And so, with that inadequacy, if we're being honest, a lot of sport programs, they lack just comprehensive training, right? How do they effectively integrate SEL into their existing curriculums and the training that is provided be consistent? How does it be effective and also impactful in ways that don't further result in one of the big myths? If we talk about it, then we're promoting it, right? So we want to make sure that we are implementing SEL programs that give our children the opportunity, one, to seek help, but also it's now an embedded approach that exists long after they leave practice or school, right? We want to make sure that we are providing SEL in ways that are really developing transferable skills for our youth and for our coaches. The last reason that I find that SEL doesn't work is simply limited time and resources, right? One of the biggest challenges is in any sport program, it's vast in nature, right? In the communities that they serve, in the children, in the parents, in the personalities. And so often this prevents programs from figuring out how to reach their full potential in implementing these programs. And so one of the barriers for, I would say, youth leaders, coaches, caregivers, educators alike is to fully execute SEL, right? Let's just be honest. You guys are conflicted with making sure kids are showing up, they're engaged, making sure parents are understanding what is required of them and the child to participate, be it academic or athletic performance, and then also training, right? We want to make sure that our kids are getting the best quality training for the sport that they're in, and for you guys, particularly soccer, right? So we want to make sure that staff is not only equipped, but they're also engaged. And unfortunately, a lot of these SEL programs don't provide both. So before we get into the video, I want to introduce Just Breathe, a mindfulness training coloring book. And I'm really excited about this book because I would say the last 2 years, I was like, how can we give autonomy to our children. Shout out to my late mother, Just Breathe was her saying, and she was very adamant about, as she would say, raising self-sufficient children. And so I thought about that and I was like, yeah, I think one of the biggest issues in mental training is we're promoting toughness, but we're not promoting independence, right? We're not promoting restoration. And so I came up with this book because I think what our children need is not us telling them what they need, correcting their emotions or their behavior, but really giving them the space to connect, self-reflect, and then regulate. And so in this video, it's only going to play for about a minute. I want you to really just take the time to watch the video and think about the ways in which you can provide that for your athletes.
When life gets deep, we tend to move fast and the voices get louder. Do you 533? Mental hygiene is real. This book is the answer. Because peace is only a breath away. 533 is that moment where peace is found. Find your peace and just breathe.
All right, so that is the video. And again, why choose this book, right? Again, my goal is to make it not only easy and effective for our youth, but also those who lead them. And so we wanted to create a tool that was practical, flexible, and it was effective, right? And so easy implementation for coaches. What does that mean? Well, with a coloring book, you do not have to tell a child, make a child, suggest to a child, advise a child. This tool allows them to say, hey, I'm not feeling up to par, or hey, I need a minute. Or even what we're noticing with a lot of our athletes is they are overstimulated. And so that might not always be a bad thing. Emotions are indicators. And when we're able to look at our children and their emotions as an indication of an unmet need, now we can say, hey, what is the need that we can help you fill? And so that's what this book does. It gives our youth an opportunity to, one, be autonomous about what it is that they need, self-reflect, and then also create emotional awareness. So when they begin to feel this again, they can say, oh, I remember last time when I felt this, this is what I did, and I was able to come back to practice or to a game or just to myself. And so with that, within a team setting specifically, it's a great opportunity for bonding, right? Self-expression beyond play. And it fosters youth voice, right? Emotional intelligence. We want our children to be able to say, hey, I need a minute, or hey, I'm overstimulated. Hey, I'm feeling nervous, right? And we want them to be able to do that in ways where by saying something, they feel, hey, I'm going to get the support that I need, right? As opposed to the fear that they may be benched or they may be looked at differently or they may be seen as weak. We're now giving them the opportunity to say what they're feeling and be empowered once they say it. So before I continue, I'd like to know if there are any questions about what I've shown thus far. And you can drop it right in the chat. Okay, so if there are no questions, we will continue. And so specifically for coaches, right? How do you use this book? Like what can this book do for you? Well, again, we want to make it simple. That is the theme of the day. How do we make this simple? How do we normalize this practice and give our children and our youth, as well as our coaches and administrators, something that they can do collectively? Well, pregame focus, as you see in the photos here, these are some of the pages from the book. I like to do my daily check-in, right? And it gives a routine for our athletes and for our coaches where, they can say, hey, what are three things that we're grateful for? What are some of the I am statements that we can say out loud, and really affirm who we are? And what are we going to commit to today? And for teams, this can be a very powerful tool to get everyone on the same page, right? Gratitude has been known to rewire the brain. And so all type of negative thoughts happen, not only for our youth, but also our coaches, right? Are we going to win today? Is this person going to play this way? Is this parent going to act this way? Right? And so when we start to think about the things that we are grateful for, it allows our brain to refocus and continue to think about, okay, what can we do? How can we do it, right? We're now putting ourselves in a solution-oriented mindset that also changes our physical chemistry and energy and impact on our youth. The second reason and way that this book can support coaches and make it really simple is mental resiliency, right? We want to build psychological strength and emotional control, but we don't want to be the ones to control the emotions of our youth, right? I often say to coaches, connection before correction. When we look to connect with our athletes, it's a lot easy for them to be in a position to correct their own behavior. And that's what we want, essentially, right? Because now their performance can be better because they're clear mind, they're making their own decisions, and that pressure that they're under from whoever, from themselves, from their peers, from their coaches or their parents, now is looked at as something that it can be more empowering, right? We want to build confidence and competence. So I can take a thought of, oh man, am I going to do good today? To, hey, you know what? I'm grateful to be out here. I am going to be confident. I am going to hit that goal. I am going to stop and play good defense. I am going to take a moment if I need to, and I commit to whatever that may be. And so when doing that together, that's the key. When coaches and athletes are able to do something like this together, it brings them on a human level to connect with their athletes in such a powerful way. And so that leads me into team bonding, right? We create a calm and connecting moment. Just as Jamie said earlier, we literally at the youth sports symposium got stuck by the elevator in the bathroom. And my partner at the time was actually upset. He was like, hey, can we get a room? And I was like, no, this is actually perfect, right? When you're in the gym with all the kids and the parents and the loud noises, when you're on the field and you're hearing the different things, this is the perfect opportunity to illustrate the power of mindfulness and the power in its practice, because you're not always going to have that perfect, quiet, peaceful, serene environment to practice cleaning your mind. And so that's why we often stay away from the terms like relaxation, and because during the game, we want to be pumped, we want to be energized. And so these moments also strengthen the unity of communication. Because again, that pressure, going back to that pressure that our youth feel and our coaches, that now turns into pressure, confidence, pressure, competence, pressure, empowerment. I want to feel confident in who I am and knowing what I'm good at. I want to be competent in my abilities and knowing that I can execute at a high level because I've been doing this. And most importantly, I want to feel center. I want to feel focused. I want to feel connected to everyone because I know that irregardless of what happens, I have a support system that will continue to empower and uplift me. And that's one of the biggest things that our youth need, right? Outside of a win or a loss, it's what's happening after the game. And how are we supporting them after practice, after the game, when things go awry, even when things go great, right? What are the lessons that they're learning? And so with that, we've had some coaches who have used the TAP system within their program, and they've reported using that mindfulness coloring and mindfulness exercises, excuse me, it shows improved communication, right? A lot of our youth are just afraid to say what they want for fear of rejection, correction, or being misunderstood, right? And so when we have these practices and we allow our youth that independent, self-reflective time to just say, what am I feeling? How am I doing? It allows them to now be able to articulate that to you, and it puts you in a better position to support their needs, right? That ability to bounce back, if you will, right? It's not just in sports, but in all areas of their life, right? How many of us can remember a coach or a teacher or someone that was older than us said something that stuck with us for the rest of our lives? Right. And that is what we want to do. We want to create powerful core memories that live beyond the game, back to those transferable skills. Right. And so what this coloring book does is it gives coaches activities that they can do with their student athletes to kind of promote these transferable skills without having to talk about these skills. Right. And so the TAP method, what it does is develops these mental exercises, and it allows for coaches to kind of use these exercises during team meetings, during debriefs, right? Travel time, right? The more consistent that coaches are with using these exercises, it then becomes an integral part of their athletic and personal development. And so one of the products and materials that we have is the leader guide. And this is one of the pages from the leader guide, and it outlines the entire method, right? So you'll find the 533 breathing meditation, the mental hygiene blueprint, the 4 steps that we talked about earlier, right? Some of the reflection prompts that come in the book, gratitude and affirmation exercises. One of my favorite pages in the book is actually in the middle. There's a cutout page where students can now have these little cards that say, I am going to be better at X, Y, and Z, or I am going to be confident, I am strong, or I belong here. I am a soccer player. I am a football player, whatever their affirmations are. And doing these activities with your athletes also allows you to learn more about them on an interpersonal level. And so the fun and creative illustrations, we also want to make mental wellness fun. I think we've done a great job of promoting mental health. I think we've done a horrible job at promoting restoration. And so with these images, what we're looking to do is say, hey, this is fun, right? Checking out how I'm feeling and combing through these different emotions. This is something that can be very gratifying, that can be fun. And again, it lasts us a lifetime, right? If I start at between the ages of 7 and 14, being able to be self-aware and be okay with the emotions that come up for me. When I'm 30 and 40, now I'm not struggling with my identity, with hiding, right? We have a lot of our people, I would say, in that age range between 25 and 45 who are so worried about how people perceive them, right? Are they living up to whatever it is that they are supposed to be or what their job title says? And I think a lot of that comes from just a lack of being aware and being okay in that awareness. So these illustrations really speak to not othering mental health, but putting it a part of our daily lives, putting it in a frame that feels good, right? Getting better feels good. And so with that being said, I'm going to check the chat just to see if there are any questions. And I would love for us to just take a moment to breathe. Yes, I absolutely love the approach and sports mental development method. Yes, thank you. The goal is not othering it, right? I've had so many coaches come to me and say, "Hey, do I need a clinician? Do I need a psychologist?" And I'm like, "No." Right? This isn't something that we're looking to diagnose. It's something that we want to create transferable skills, right? And so the more confidence that our coaches have, the more competent our youth can be in their abilities to not only make a goal or shoot a basket or get a touchdown, but be able to look at themselves and still like what they see. So with that being said, the 533 breathing meditation is here in full. And again, I created this breathing meditation for myself. And so I would love to do a demo of this breath with you. And so with that being said, I'm just going to ask that everyone have their feet planted firmly on the ground. If you're sitting, if you prefer to stand up, that's fine. And just going to take 2 calming breaths and kind of find your stillness if you can. And so again, 533 is a breathing meditation for mental energy and focus. 5 deep breaths, 3 fast and 3 loud. We're going to go through each breath just once, kind of get the feeling of what it is and what it can do. Once you have found your stillness, the only thing that I ask is you have your hands either on your lap, palms up, or down by your side, really releasing your shoulders and your neck. Yeah, I see Jamie moving it around. Yeah, find your stillness, release that tension. The next thing that I'll ask is that you remove your tongue from the top of your jaw really allow your jaw from here to here to relax as well. Close your eyes, or if you choose to keep your eyes open, find one focal point and you stare at it. We're going to start with 5 deep breaths. We're only going to take 2 deep breaths and 1 of each breath following. And with that deep breath, you're going to breathe in through your nose and exhale softly. One more time, breathing in through the nose. And exhale softly. Now we're going to move on to fast. You're going to pull the air in, filling your lungs as much as you can. And exhaling fast. Almost like a cough. One more time, pull it in. And push it out. And the last one is loud. We're going to pull it in just the same. And release the jaw. One more time, pull the air in. And release loudly. Bringing your hands to center. Taking a calming breath. I always like to end this with an affirmation, little call and response. And so in your space, just repeat after me. Thank you, self, for taking the time to come see me today. I appreciate you. I need you. And we got this. And so that was the short version of the 533 breathing meditation. Again, it increases mental energy and focus. I recommend that this meditation be done before a game, before practice, because what we want to do is we want to give our youth and as well as ourselves that opportunity to meet ourselves where our feet are and get ready, right? Get ready. So often we have traditional meditations that make us feel really relaxed and ready for sleep even. But what we want to do is we want to be ready for performance. We want to have our minds clear. And that's what 533 is designed to do. With the deep breaths, again, we're really closing the gap between our mind and our heart. With the fast, we're engaging that core. Similar to a huddle, right? When we say 1, 2, 3, defense, right? We want to engage that for ourselves, getting ourselves ready and prepped for whatever it is that we're about to do. And then lastly, that loud, we want to release all tension, all worry, all fear, and every doubt that we may have. And so with that being said, I would like to offer you a better solution. Today we talked about things that don't work and why they don't work. We also talked about mental training and what that can look like in terms of how do we implement this in ways that are not only impactful for the youth, but also impactful for our coaches. And so I'd like to read you a quote by Phil Jackson. If you don't know, if you're not aware, he's an 11-time NBA champion as a player and a coach. He was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey in 2013, and she asked him what was the reason he used mindfulness. And he simply said, I approached it with mindfulness and talking about his athletes I believe it was 1997, the Chicago Bulls were looking for their second consecutive championship. So that team had a lot of Hall of Famers like Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr, who's now a championship coach at Golden State, right? And he said, I approached it with mindfulness. We talked about mindfulness as being, as much as we pump iron and we run to build our strength up, we need to build our mental strength up. We need to build our mental strength so we can focus, get one pointed attention, and we can be in concert with one another in times of need. And what I really love about this quote is he talked nothing about sports, right? I think the biggest part for that quote for me was one pointed attention so we can be in concert with one another in times of need, right? And being able to support our young people is again about fulfilling a need and giving them the tools to do it for themselves, and us being an added support, a trusted support that can do it for them as well. And so with that, we have the TAP bundle, which is a resource designed just for that, right? We want to be able to support you all with emotional, social, and cognitive development for preteens and teenagers. Just a caveat, we have used this bundle with elementary and it has worked as well. And so what we do is we use scientifically backed strategies like cognitive behavioral therapy, visualization, mindfulness, and meditation. And it's perfect for parents, teachers, coaches, and caregivers because I still believe that it takes a village, right, to raise a child. And when we're on the field or court, we want to again be able to give our youth transferable skills, right? That's what sport is about, right? Those who participate in sport are way more times, I'm not even sure, more likely to be leaders, right? To be executive directors, right? To come back and be coaches, right? So we want to make sure that the goal of our teaching isn't just to score or to know how to kick a ball or shoot a jump shot, but also know how to self-regulate, how to be poised, right? How to be aware under pressure and be able to move not only as children, but well into adulthood. And so that's what this bundle does. It supports youth mental health and development by providing tools, guidance, and strategies to help nurture these emotional and mental well-being, right? And so we aim as a program, we aim to foster, we really want to foster resilience, right? Confidence and emotional intelligence in every child. So with that being said, I will stop sharing my screen. Here is a brief recap of what you get in that bundle. Again, we want to give it to you and allow you to plug and play, as we like to call. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to change what you do. More importantly, we don't want to add on to your plate, right? We know that coaches and executive directors have a lot on their plate. And so this bundle is designed to support you with tools and materials that make you feel like, oh, wow, this is something I can do at this time or something I can do at that time, something that you can make your own. And so, with that being said, I'm going to, as I said, stop sharing my screen. So, just once again, thank you. And if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer them for the remainder of the time that we have left.
Coach D, this is Micah. My question was, I know you said that was a short version of what you did with the 533. How do you make it longer? Not that you need to go through it, but just some things that you did to extend that.
So we only went through the deep breath twice and the fast breath, like a practice breath, and kind of getting through it. So you would actually do the entire meditation. So that would essentially be 5 deep breaths, 3 fast, and 3 loud, and then taking that moment to bring everyone to center. So as you saw in, I think it was like the third or fourth slide, you saw the youth standing on the field and they were just like this, right? So implementing that like 30 seconds of stillness and giving them an opportunity to come back. Right. I've done this breath work several times in different spaces. And even Jamie can tell you and vouch for when we were doing it by the elevator. Some people took a little longer to come back, which is an indication to me that they really needed it, right? I've been in other circles where people actually are taking a time to find their stillness. So I think it really depends on what coaches are seeing in their youth as they administer it and they do it with them. But when you do the full meditation, it's usually around anywhere between 4 to 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Great question. So we have some feedback in the chat. Thank you. Breathwork is incredibly important. What I like about the 533 method is the breath distribution. Thank you. Unlike box breathing, which people like to include with kids as an intro, I want to say intro to reset. Yeah, I think for me, no knock on box breathing. I think the issue with it is because it's such a rigid breath meditation. So many people get caught up in doing it right. Right? Are they doing it correctly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that puts the brain back into a space of task as opposed to liberation, right? And so 533 was you can't do it wrong. Essentially, there's no way to like do it wrong. I've been in circles doing this meditation, and some people just be fast breathing. And that's what they need, and that's okay. And so I think it's super important to have any type of breathing intentional breathing technique to be freeing, right? There's no wrong or right way to do it. Are there any questions about what I shared about social emotional learning, about the TAP method itself? Don't be shy.
I have a question, not necessarily on the method itself, but what are your feelings around diaphragmatic breathing before an activity? So it's like faster paced breath where you try to collect. Okay.
Mhm. Um, Similar to box breathing. And so the fast breath was really designed in that and in that space, but it's in the middle of a loud breath and the deep breathing. So we want to kind of center the body first, and then after the fast breath, we want to release tension. And so I think the fast breathing, it gets the body in a state of fight or flight sometimes. That isn't always the best when we're about to go play a game because the mind is already there, right? The mind is already in a space of what's going to happen, right? I like to call it play, pause, and fast forward, right? So when we think of play, that's the present. When we think of fast forward, that's anxiety. And when we think of pause or rewind, that can be looked at as depression, right? That looping thought of like what happened last game or what I didn't do right. And so I think the full spectrum is missed if we just do that type of breathing, where we're now potentially, not always, but potentially putting our children in fast forward, right? And they're already there with whatever worries that they come into the game with. I think the cadence of the breath needs to also include a moment of stillness. So again, they can go back to where their feet are. There's often you'll see pictures of LeBron in the middle of a game, sitting on the bench, just breathing, right? Really finding stillness is super important in a fast-paced environment, because then it allows you the capacity to go back into that environment, and perform at an optimal level. You're muted.
Sorry, I was saying I agree and thank you. In the past, when I've worked with children, if they had issues to be still when it comes to breath work, I often find using something like bubbles as a good way to introduce breathing and proper breathing technique. It's not the same as the 533, but it's more about deep breath work and like getting out of your chest and into your core and having that be the space that you breathe from.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. One thing that I often encourage coaches not to do is try to force students to be still, because that's them moving that energy out.
Right.
Right. And so, there's no proper way to breathe if we're just breathing. Right. And what happens is this is a practice, right? I did a suicide walk just a couple of days ago, and there were two adults who could not stay still at all throughout the entire meditation. These were grown folk. And that lets me know that they haven't practiced stillness. But how many of us don't practice stillness? We have the cell phone, we have the workload, we may have children at home. We're thinking about, it's 11 o'clock, we're already thinking about 6 p.m. And so, it's a real practice. It's a real practice. And the more that we engage our youth with it, they'll definitely learn it and pick it up.
Yeah, agree. It's the perfect reintroduction into being present, into being in the moment. Like the one control we have is the life of the breath while it lasts. So to take those breaths and to slow them down and to just be a little bit more collective with how you fully engage with the breath, because we do it so involuntarily that when you're told to do it, that you often just resort to what comes natural. And then you realize, hey, I could be possibly be breathing wrong my whole life because I'm either anxious or I'm on a fight or flight or freeze mode, because so many people forget to take breaths, forget to relax the jaw. And kids start doing it at a young age. So I this is incredible work and I completely approve. And it's definitely something that always needs to be integrated from a sports setting to different environments, from urban environments to more suburban environments, um, because everybody's relationship with breath is not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people breathe here
Yeah.
from chest to head.
Yeah.
So I think anyone that breathes, has an opportunity to breathe better because
Yeah,
it's
we're not all
something,
breathing the same.
yeah, we take it for granted so unintentionally, which is even, I think, more dangerous.
Yeah, and I think it's because the breath is a feedback with the world.
Mm.
So I don't think people are trying not to breathe improper. I think it just happened over time that you hold your breath when you have something to say, when you have a nerve. So you unconsciously kind of reteach yourself. And it's incredible when you start working with kids how early that actually starts. And then to get them to correct it and for them to see them slow down, you wonder what would humanity look like had we just paced
Mm.
ourselves with the breath. You know?
That part. I do, yeah. That's connection over correction, connection before correction, because so often our children, by the time they're 8, they have an idea of what's right and wrong. And that can be so stifling, so stifling. So 533 is an opportunity to be where you are and not put any type of charge on it because, again, when we brush our teeth, right, we all have our own system. Some people gargle first, some people gargle last, but you brushed your teeth, right? You did it right. Are there any more questions?
There's also the tongue when you brush your teeth, right? The mouth is a whole
Yes.
thing, and the
Yes.
gums. So it's like if you need someone to come and reintroduce you to do that, then this is the perfect like method for that, or just including breath work for that. I don't want to take any more time, but I'm happy that this is being included as a volunteer coach for this year, and also as a parent, and also as someone who went about her own breathwork journey. So
Mm.
I love this and the coloring book.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'll leave my email in the chat. If anyone is interested, please feel free to connect with me. Today was great. I always love supporting those who support the youth. I'm a firm believer that attitude is a reflection of leadership. And the more that we can vulnerably and intentionally meet ourselves where we're at out loud, it gives voice and license to our youth to do the same, right? We so often are, again, correcting ourselves, correcting our thoughts, correcting our movements, and in turn, as you said, now unintentionally correcting our breath.
So, Coach D, first of all, thank you so much for your time. And this was unbelievable. Just that last conversation that you two had, I learned so much. I've been asking everybody this question because we get all this information. It's all really, really good. We want to implement right away, but it's almost impossible to take everything we learned within this webinar today and then implement it tomorrow within our team, right? They would think we were crazy. So if you were going to implement something in your team tomorrow, where would you start?
Very simply, just taking 30 seconds of stillness and silence before practice. Hey guys, I want to try something new with you all. You down? Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Everyone get in a big circle. You can have your hands here. And you let them know, like, hey, if this isn't something you're into, that's fine, but don't ruin it for anyone else. And introduce the breath in pieces. So, hey, as a group, let's take 3 deep breaths and let's take 10 seconds to just be still. And that's something very easy, very implementable, takes less than 2 minutes. And you do it every day, right? The more that students and athletes are met with this type of work, the more receptive they become to it because it's just a part of the routine.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach D. Greatly
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you all for joining us.